know?
So what we're talking about is your second hat, and that's the fact that you are the Stop DWI coordinator for Jefferson County. First of all, how long have you been working as for Jefferson County to begin
13
with?
wonderful years.
30, you mentioned that. 30, and how long have you been the coordinator for Stop DWI?
I took over for a gentleman who retired by the name of Rick Beresford. I believe this will be my fourth year as the Stop DWI coordinator.
Nice. Okay, so this is the big weekend. This is when they say life gets really dangerous over the next 4 or 5 months, right through Labor Day. And that's because there's more people on the road, more people going out. I mean, there's going to be a record amount of people this weekend. I, for one, by the way, just as a programming note, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'm heading down to Long Island tomorrow morning, first time in a long time. So a lot of people, COVID's over. Now things are picking up again. So more and more, we got to be careful because there's more cars out back on the street, just like back in 2018, 2019. Will we see more force, police cars this weekend as an example of that, Jason?
So one of the things that is going on this weekend is this is what they call a targeted high visibility enforcement campaign, where we have a lot more officers on the streets because there's a lot more risk. People are going to be out. There's nothing wrong with having a couple of beverages if your legal circumstances allow,
right?
And if you're doing it safely and responsibly. Getting behind the wheel of a car after doing that is a terrible idea. So those officers from various agencies, our Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, Watertown City Police, the village police agencies that are
the
around
YMCA
us.
Guys? No, just kidding.
No, the village police agencies like Alexandria Bay and
Right.
Carthage and things like that
Sure.
are also joining in. And then of course the New York State Police are going to be out in force to try to make sure that, hey, if you're getting behind the wheel and you're making choices for other people to get behind the wheel and drive, you really shouldn't be on the road. And they're going to be watching out for you and hopefully get you away from a car.
What is the BAC level right now? 0.08?
0.08.
They're looking at going to 0.05, if I'm not mistaken, Jason.
There is some stuff that is in front of the legislature that is being looked at.
Yeah.
Last status update I had on that was that it was still kind of being mulled over.
Yeah, that's a big jump down. Don't you agree?
I think that there will be a uptick in the amount of people that get in trouble if they are driving with a 0.05 versus a 0.08, just statistically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I know that the reasons we're looking at that number are the fact that you start becoming impaired at about that. Like 0.06 has always been a DWAI.
Okay. Right.
And what we're trying to do is kind of take that level of impairment down a little bit that's allowable.
Right.
So the intentions behind it are to try to keep our streets just as safe as possible.
Which I get. And again, there's other things out there. Uber is relatively new in the last 5-10 years. People could do that. But people, we were talking earlier about alcohol because of the sales of alcohol being, the whole aspect of it being sold in grocery stores. But in this case, it's a matter of responsibility. Whether you buy it from a grocery store or liquor store or not, you lose your rationale when you're at a certain level. But you just said something interesting. Say, for instance, if you're going to do 55 miles an hour, you can get away with 65. But if they brought it down to 55 again, then there's going to be less people inclined to speed. Is it the same thing? In other words, if they bring it from 0.08 to 0.05, will that mean less people will probably reconsider going out and drinking again? Is that the idea?
If that's the approach, I think, and I can't speak to the mindset of the legislators that are involved with the state, but that would make logical sense to me as like, hey, if there's enough of a deterrent.
Right.
I mean, as it sits right now, if you get a DWI in New York State, you're looking at least $12,000 worth of expense.
Wow.
Not including secondary expenses such as job loss or license, the general hassle of trying to find a job if you get your license suspended or having to deal with an ignition interlock system or anything like that.
Yeah. It's actually worse than pushing someone out in front of a moving train in New York City. It costs you more, and you're not going to get out the same day. I'm just being, I'm a little levity here, Jason, but it seems like it's a little lopsided. Why do we, again, this is my opinion, I know there's too many, what are the statistics these days? Ever since MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, started, 30 years ago or so, has there been a noticeable decrease in drunk driving in the last 20 years?
So I can tell you, I can't speak to the MAD statistics, but since Jefferson County and all the other counties in New York State started participating and created the Stop DWI program, there's been a 70% reduction in impaired driving.
Nice.
That's a lot.
Right.
And to have that ability to impact directly the safety of our community
Right.
has been phenomenal and an enormous part of what keeps us going. Seeing those numbers and going, all right, we're doing what we need to do.
Right. Here's the thing. We have two entities that advertise if in the case someone gets a DWI, and you've heard the commercials before. And I did reach out to someone, not from your organization, but someone else who said that the DWI numbers up here are proportionally out of proportion for the rest of the state and the rest of the country. Are we the drunkest city and community in New York State and beyond, Jason?
I don't necessarily speak to that. I can tell you our numbers. We had, I believe it was, I was doing the state report not too long ago, and I think it was 263 DWIs last year, calendar year. And you look down at Kings County, if memory serves, it was something like 1110.
Okay.
So for an area that size with that population,
right.
I think we are disproportionately
Oh my
higher.
God, it's not even okay. Let's go over that again. Brooklyn got 1,100 in 1 year, and we got Jefferson County. You're referring to Jefferson County, or the Tri-County area?
Jefferson County.
Just Jefferson County, a population of roughly 125,000 people, regardless of how everyone's leaving Watertown. The county still has about at least 120, 125, and we're not counting Fort Drum. I don't think we can. So let's tack on another 20,000. Let's just say at least 140,000 people versus Brooklyn, which is 2.5 million people. We got a lot of drunk people up here, Jason.
Well, I think that it absolutely proves the fact that the programs that we have in place that we do for Stop DWI are absolutely necessary, and we need to continue pushing to make it so that people aren't interested in getting behind the wheel.
Right.
We provide them education. Right. Provide not only the deterrence at the curb, where you're going to get fined, you're going to get caught. Right. Deterrence through the district attorney's office, who's wonderful about prosecuting these and trying to work with offenders. If they've got an individual who's a repeat offender, they'll. Hey, are you interested in a drug court program? Sure. Are you interested in getting some help for what is clearly a problem for you? Right. You know what I mean?
Right. You want a cocktail? No, it's good. Are you interested in a cocktail? No, not really. But that's amazing. But getting back to the Brooklyn thing, the one thing that is true, more people will drive longer distances up here than they will in Brooklyn because of mass transportation, and people are, confined, pretty much can walk within the distance between their local bar, more so than they can here. So there are other factors, but still, that's staggering. How do we measure up to another county that's like Oswego County? Do you know those numbers by any chance?
I don't actually know Oswego's numbers off the top of my head.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to speak to them.
So, but I just know that dealing with bars over the years. Whenever I talk to the BAC, the ABC people, down in Albany, I would say they ask me, "Well, where are you calling from?" I says, "I'm calling from Watertown." Oh, Watertown! Oh, well, we got some stories up there. We seem to have that kind of a reputation as in drinking more than the average. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's just the way it is. But obviously, it keeps you busy, though, Jason.
It does, and I will say this is that part of the engagement, part of that high visibility engagement campaign is getting out in the community. Right. And I've interfaced with I think a dozen of our local establishments that sell alcohol. Right. Every single one of them is very receptive. Like, hey, we want people to come here. Sure. We want people to have fun. Right. We definitely are going to do everything we can to try to keep them from getting in a car. You know what I mean? Getting the ride share apps and posting that information at their doors.
That's so important.
They're great.
Yeah. And